This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball from a warm, muggy night. The mighty Mississippi. And tonight from Busch Stadium, it's game number 2 between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Rays. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. We're not in our normal position of the broadcast booth. That is Rick Horton. My name is Dan McLaughlin. Where we're standing right now is just outside Ballpark Village on Clark Street. We're actually in the former infield of Busch Stadium, too, and this has become a very popular place.
Yeah, it brings back memories for me here being on this infield, but it really has been fun, Dan, since this has opened up. People just love being here. It's a party atmosphere every night. Of course, the game goes on in there, but there's a lot of fun out here.
Should be a lot of fun in this game when you think about the two starters, two very good ones, Alex Cobb and Lance Lynn.
Cobb, one of the very good young pitchers that Tampa Bay has. They have a great group of young pitchers. Lance Lynn has been terrific for the Cardinals. He's really kind of inserted himself as the number 2 guy, and I expect him to be good again tonight.
If you come to Busch Stadium, one of the things that you need to do is head to Ballpark Village. Also, check out the Plaza of Champions. Harry Weber designed and created 10 bronze figures at the corner of Clark Street. Cool Papa Bell, Lou Brock, Dizzy Dean, Bob Gibson, Rogers Hornsby, Stan the Man, Red Shandies, George Sisler, Enos Slaughter, Ozzie Smith, some of the biggest names in St. Louis baseball history. It's the Tampa Bay Rays, the St. Louis Cardinals. Game 2 coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. on the inside corner. Got him. 95 from Kevin Segrist. What a weapon he can be, and he's back in the big leagues. Activated this afternoon prior to our first pitch tonight. Nick Greenwood has been sent to the minor leagues, and as this bullpen stacks up for the final 2 months remaining in the regular season, Rick, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, the bullpen's going to be very important down the stretch. Segrist, a .45 ERA a year ago for Mike Matheny. The Cardinals lose their long left-hander in Nick Greenwood, but Segrist is quite a weapon in the 8th and 9th.
Alex Cobb will get the start for Tampa Bay. Lance Lynn for St. Louis. First pitch from the hard-throwing big righty comes your way next on the home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. It's a huge crowd filing in. Baseball brought to you by Budweiser. Designate a driver and enjoy the great times. Come in and visit your Mid-American Chevy dealers and make your move to Chevrolet today. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. It's been a hot day here in the Gateway City. The Cardinals start play a game and a half back of Milwaukee. Tampa Bay still in the race. This team is red hot. They've won 6 straight, and they're 8 back in the American League East. The Tampa Bay Rays lineup: Jennings, Zobrist, and Joyce, Longoria, Loney, Escobar, Molina, Cobb, and Kiermaier. They'll face Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn is trying to join the top of the list in the National League in terms of wins with 12. The key is starter tonight for St. Louis, and that is ripped fair. First pitch of the game, and it's off the sidewall. Desmond Jennings breaks an 0 for his last 8 and a leadoff double, and that's how we start the night.
Lance Lynn starts him out down and in. You expect him to take the first pitch, but he doesn't. He jumps on it. Cardinals weren't sure this was fair or not, but not a reviewable call. Maybe went over the corner of the bag. Either way, it's a leadoff double for Desmond Jennings, who's a very, very good leadoff hitter with some power.
Also leads their club in stolen bases with 12 this year. The switch hitting Ben Zobrist, who's hitting .260. From this side of the plate, hitting .231. .337 from the right side, but his power numbers come from the left side. 86 degrees, our game time temperature. The sun with an early start at 6:15. As we have noticed in the summer months here in St. Louis, it does become a factor in particular for the right fielder. To an extent, Colton Wong, the second baseman, as Tavares is in right field in this ball game tonight.
Oscar's still getting his feet wet as a major league outfielder, and I believe this is the second or third time that he's drawn one of these 6:15 games, and he has to play right field today. So he's going to need some help from his center fielder, John Jay, as well as the infielders on balls, especially if they're hit kind of medium height fly balls. Those are the ones that you have a little more trouble with.
1 ball, 1 strike. The Rays were able to use a 5-run 5th inning last night against Adam Wainwright. Propelled them to the victory. And for Joe Maddon, even though he was ejected, certainly pleased with the results of Game 1. 5 innings for Wainwright, nearly. And in that 5th inning, he gives up the 5 runs on only 2 hits. Very uncharacteristically walked a couple and hit batsmen. And all of a sudden, you looked up and the Rays are running away with this game.
A lot of conversation after the game about Adam Wainwright and Joe Maddon and their conversation. And you picked up on it, Dan, right away, that Joe Maddon was apparently yelling at Wainwright, and it sounded like it was a kind of a two-sided conversation, but there's no bad blood between the two at all.
Nice play, Adams sliding, and Lynn to the bag at first. It saves a run, takes away a hit, but Jennings does advance to third with just 1 out. A look at the Cardinals defensively with Holiday in left, Jay in center, Tavares is in right. Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Adams along the infield. Tony Cruz, another start. He's behind the plate. We've noticed Matt Adams with very good range and soft hands at first base.
He's been very good, especially going to his left. He made a number of good plays, did last night as well, and he's up there in the defensive runs saved category as a pretty effective first baseman.
First inning, interesting here to see the infield in, and it's Matt Joyce, a left fielder, who's hitting .273. He's homered 7 times, driven in 41, and takes a pitch down and away.
You get a big debate about infield in. When do you do it? When don't you do it? I think if you are expecting a low-scoring game, expecting it to be a pitcher's duel, you can't afford to give up runs even if it's the first inning. So you roll the dice, and I'm okay with this move here, but I think you'll get kind of reasonable minds to differ on it. If you play the infield back, you're essentially conceding a 1-0 game, and Joyce is a guy that does a good job of hitting the ball on the ground. We saw that last night.
Tavares is holding up his glove in right, trying to shade from the sun. He's got glasses on, and it's 3 balls and no strikes. Pinch hit in the game last night, 9th inning, and picked up a base hit. Very tough Sun Field.
You can tell he's thinking about it.
And that's a little bit low. So 4 straight to Matt Joyce.
And now you can move the infield back.
You're thinking about the double play. The cleanup man is Evan Longoria. Leads Tampa Bay in home runs with 12 and also RBIs with 49. Runners at first and third. Longoria homered off of Jason Mott late last night to pick up that 12th home run. And he takes a strike. And he's now the all-time leader in Tampa Bay Rays history in RBIs, doubles, and home runs. That gave him 593 ribbies with that home run last night to pass Carl Crawford.
And that in 5 years of play, and he's just 28 years of age.
Ground ball to short. Can they turn 2? Out at second. It's a double play. Double play for Lynn. and he gets out of a first inning jam. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Jose Molina. There's a guy named Yachty that knows him pretty well. That's his brother. And our guess is he likes cheese crackers because look at this.
That's Jose Oquendo going out to coach third base. Left the snack right on home plate for Jose Molina, and Yachty just loves it. And my favorite part of it is Jose just looked over at the Cardinals bench, laughed about it. There's the cheese crackers sitting right on home plate. And he ends up kind of ultimately picking them up and just putting them in his back pocket. And that's where they are right now, in Jose Molina's back pocket.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
Eric Gregg. They left the cheeseburger on third base for him.
I remember that. That's right.
I believe that was Terry Pendleton.
Cardinals lineup. That's great stuff. Matt Carpenter will lead it off, followed by Colton Wong. Then Holiday, Adams, and Peralta, Oscar Taveras, John Jay, Tony Cruz, and the pitcher batting ninth, and that's Lance Lynn. The Cardinals face Alex Cobb, and when he's right and when he's on, he is tough.
Sinker ball pitcher, rarely throws a four-seamer. Everything's down in the zone. Gets a lot of ground balls. In fact, one of the best ground ball percentages in all of baseball. I believe he's second. And he does throw a changeup about a third of the time, and it's a split. The same pitch we saw from Odorizzi here yesterday.
Shift on here for Carpenter. The Rays, by the way, shift the sixth most in Major League Baseball. And if you're wondering, the Cardinals are 21st. Here's a 1-0. Right down the middle. Matt Carpenter with a leadoff homer yesterday. We were thinking maybe setting the tone against Jake Odorizzi, but give him credit. After that home run, a shaky first inning, he settled in and picked up the victory.
Out of his glove quickly if it's a hit to him.
Carpenter, a ground ball, and he hits it right into the ship.
Matt Joyce in left, Desmond Jennings in center, and Kevin Kiermaier is in right. Around the horn brought to you by Dobbs. Longoria, former Gold Glover at third. Yunel Escobar with 9 errors to lead their club in short. Zobrist at second, Loney at first, and Jose Molina is behind the plate. Alex Cobb, by the way, the pitcher with 3 errors this year. One out, nobody on, and here is Colton Wong. Fastball and a strike.
Cobb has a delivery that takes a little bit of getting used to because he stops and starts about 2 or 3 times early in his motion. It looks like he's going to go, and then stop, and then kind of explodes, and then he throws that split changeup. And right there he had Colton Wong way out in front. That nasty movement to it. There's the start, stop, and go.
1 ball and 2 strikes. They're calling this Christmas in July here at Busch Stadium, so the players featured on the video board, their Christmas hats, some Christmas music before the game and in between innings.
La 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 la.
One of the giveaways, it was a special themed night ticket, was an ugly sweater type t-shirt you'd get in honor of Christmas. Christmas in July.
Did I see a sign that said only 155 shopping days left?
You did. You still have time.
I might just put you on my list this year, Dan.
Not a chance as Wong strikes out. I've always been, in our friendship, a guy that delivered present after present to you, but for you to reciprocate, sometimes it just doesn't happen. Well, there were 2 pitches there against the left-handed hitting Colton Wong that makes you realize why lefties are hitting just 201 against Alex Cobb.
Absolutely right. It's not just the downward movement, but it goes away. He has the ability to keep his fingers on top of the ball and get that downward movement. And there's another one to a right-hander, Holiday down and in, and no wonder he throws it a third of the time. Throws it at 88 miles an hour, so it's a pretty hard split. And again, he calls it a changeup. Most of the organizations that chart pitches, they call it a split, but he calls it a changeup. It really is both. It's a split change. But it has the effect of both. The split value is the movement downward. The change value is the reduction in speed off of your fastball. He's got both with that pitch.
Holiday now with 8 home runs, leading the club in RBIs with 51 and batting .268. The 0-2 to Matt. The Mats in the lineup last night: Matt Carpenter, Matt Holiday, Matt Adams. They were 5 for 12, pair of RBIs, 2 runs scored. The only 2 for St. Louis. Everybody else in the lineup was 2 for 21. And a foul ball. We mentioned that Joe Maddon was ejected for just the 4th time this season. 3rd inning last night, he was asked twice, were you yelling at Adam Wainwright? And both times his answer quickly was absolutely. He said, I was frustrated with the strike zone, but I don't want other players yelling in our dugout. That's what he thought.
But he also said, I'm not going to question the professionalism of Mr. Wainwright. I get it. He wasn't worried about it. They moved on. No score from St. Louis. Somebody else. Understood.
Here in St. Louis, glad that you're with us. That little guy, he got here prepared. He's got the shades ready to roll. We turn things over to Jim Hayes, and Jim, no score, but we want to get to the bottom of a serious question here. Tony Cruz's walk-up music. We heard it last night. What is going on here with Tony Cruz?
Well, first, kudos to you for noticing that, Dan. You have a keen baseball eye. According to Tony Cruz, yes, he's a fan of the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, and he thought that little chant that Matthew McConaughey did would make a good walk-up song or chant. He says he found it on YouTube and decided to do it. Why that chant? Because, as Cruz told me, it has a, quote, nice little beat. He also said that he rhythmically beats his chest in the dugout before he goes out to the on-deck circle, but the cameras never catch him. And Danny says the feedback for that walk-up song that he's getting from his teammates, pretty good. Pretty good.
Here's James Loney. It'll be Loney, Escobar, and Jose Molina. The players do have the choice of what song they want. Coming up to the plate is Holiday. Makes the catch. The Cardinals wrap up this homestand tonight, off day tomorrow. Then we head to Chicago. One thing that we do know is that on Friday, that'll be an afternoon game at 3:05. Joe Kelly was set to start. He'll go against Travis Wood. There were some question marks about Saturday and Sunday. What do we know about Saturday, Jim?
Shelby Miller on Saturday. He's back in the rotation. Waino on Sunday. Carlos Martinez back to the bullpen as of tonight. Mike Matheny was telling us that the goal all along was getting some rest for Shelby, and they accomplished that. Shelby made one appearance out of the bullpen, and Matheny says Miller should be stronger and ready to go. As for Martinez, Matheny says you see the flashes of his electric stuff that everyone talks about, but he never found consistency as a starter. Mike told me Carlos is young, and he looks good for a stretch and then somehow loses it. He said he talked to Carlos and that Martinez agreed he has to find a way to be more consistent with his pitches, than particularly the off-speed stuff.
So do we know when Martinez may be back in that starting rotation, or is that going to be a question mark for the next, let's say, 5 to 7 days with the 2 off days the Cardinals will enjoy, as this is a base hit by Escobar, an infield hit?
Yeah, Mike said for now, Martinez's role out of the bullpen undefined, and whether or not he goes back into the starting rotation and when also undefined, as you referenced. It's just a quirky schedule, this post-All-Star break schedule, so the Cardinals have time to rest some guys and to move things around and see what happens. So they'll wait and see.
All right, Jimmy, thanks. Good stuff. So Shelby Miller back in the rotation. Mike Matheny has reiterated to us the point that when he was in the bullpen, it was not as punishment, but to get rest. So we'll see Shelby on Saturday afternoon. Now it's Molina. The hit and run was on.
I don't know if you can tell too much, Dan, from the countenance of the shot that we just had on Carlos Martinez, but he seemed in that at least brief moment in time to seem pretty happy to be out there in the bullpen, and you didn't see a sullen Carlos Martinez. We've seen that before. We've seen him where he was so dejected in his own ability, he just kind of sat in the corner of the bullpen and seemed kind of just lost. But I don't really see that in him right now, and certainly he does have great ability, and he could become that 7th inning stopper guy, the 8th inning stopper guy very easily. And you put Martinez, Segrist, Rosenthal, and add Mott and Neshek to that, and you may have a very strong 7, 8, 9 innings, which of course is very important down the stretch.
No balls and 2 strikes on Jose Molina with 1 out and a runner at first. The Cardinals turned a key double play with runners at the corners back in the first inning to get out of the jam. A little bit high. With Nick Greenwood gone, who served as your quote-unquote long man, Martinez, having been stretched out as a starter, certainly could give you multiple innings too.
Yeah, I think with Manus being stretched out a bit too from time to time, you've got maybe 2 guys that can do that, but Carlos certainly the best choice to be a 2 or 3 inning guy, at least in the beginning. But I just think long term, if he stays out there, and I'm not sure he will, and it of course depends on what he does, but you team him up with Segrist and you can get him back to where they both were a year ago, and you've got a dynamite bullpen and you shorten the game. Now your starters go 5 or 6 innings and you don't care anymore because you've got nothing but zeros the last 3 or 4 innings.
That has been the case outside of the starts with Lynn and Wainwright. Since Walker went out, the only pitcher that's given them more than those 6 innings is Molina. Strikes out. Advancing on the play will be Escobar, but Joe Kelly last Saturday. That's it. First strikeout for Lynn as we turn to our Toyota keys to the game.
My first thought I had, Dan, about Lance Lynn as it relates to the key today is the fact that he's had some interleague success this season, and I would think he'd be the kind of guy that would be tough to hit if you're not used to it. He's just kind of sneaky with his fastball, the 2 fastballs that he uses up in the zone and down. And I think from an offensive standpoint, the key for the Cardinals is to not miss opportunities. This is a very good pitching staff for Tampa Bay. Their starter is a ground ball specialist who can get double plays and kind of keep you out of big innings. And Cardinals have to find a way when they get opportunities to take advantage of them.
Again, the Rays using the pitcher batting 8th. And it's Alex Cobb, who is 0 for 4 this year. Escobar, the runner at second base, and that pitch taken high. One of the best, if not the best, interleague start the Cardinals have seen this year is from the man on the mound, and that's Lance Lynn. It was against the Yankees, his first ever complete game in professional baseball. If you include that start, it's 10 coming into this start tonight. Slowly hit and tapped foul. Ricky's throwing his fastball 78% of the time. 78%. The average against that fastball in those 10 starts is just 211.
It's not unusual for me to have conversations, and Dan, you're in them too, with the other team's broadcasters who will come into town asking about players, and just had a conversation before the game with the Rays team, and they're talking about, we've seen Lance Lynn on video, we just don't quite get him. I mean, why is he just so good?
And Cobb picks up a base hit on his way to second base, and he delivers with a 2-out double. The pitcher batting 8th, and Escobar scores 1-0 Tampa Bay.
Escobar reached with a swinging roller, but a mistake here up in the zone. And Cobb, a little inside-out swing, just trying to put the ball in play, and he got more than that. It's a rocket down the right field line, scoring Escobar, and frustrating turn of events there for Lance Lynn.
First ever major league hit. He had been 0 for 7 in his career.
But the point I was making, Dan, about the visiting broadcasters is they see the percentage of fastballs you're talking about, 75%, and think, he's not throwing 99. So that doesn't make sense to us. He's not just blowing guys away, and his fastball up in the zone has some movement to it. But what is it about Lance Lynn that makes him such an effective fastball pitcher? And it really is, in my mind, the variance between his sinker and his four-seamer. That's his special ability and his special gift, especially when he's commanding it.
0-2 the count here on Kevin Kiermaier. He's had 4 walks the last 2 games, and really a key walk against Wainwright last night in the 5th. It started that entire inning. They sent 10 men to the plate. 1-2. Pirates have jumped out to a 4-run lead on the Dodgers. That's in the top of the 2nd. Milwaukee has already posted a victory over Cincinnati as Kiermaier is able just to stay alive. So as we speak, Cardinals are 2 games out. That drops Cincinnati to 5.5 out, and they have dropped 6 straight.
They're really struggling, aren't they?
Yeah.
I thought with getting Latos back, that would help their rotation, solidify those guys, some of the other young guys in that rotation, but it's just not working for them right now.
I think their rallying cry, if you're a Cincinnati Reds fan, has been, well, just wait till we get healthy. Well, they have been to an extent. They got Chapman back earlier than they thought. As you said, Latos back in the rotation, and yet they're 5.5 games out. 2-2. The runner at second is the pitcher, Alex Cobb. And a ground ball pulled foul. A Rays team that has dealt with injuries as well. Will Myers, the rookie of the year, out until mid-August. Ryan Hannigan, very good catcher, dealing with an oblique strain. He's been out. That's why Molina's got the bulk of the duty. David DeJesus, who can play all around the diamond, fractured his hand. They expect him back by early August. And Matt Moore, left-handed pitcher, is done for the season with Tommy John. But the Rays are intriguing. I mean, if they keep getting healthy and keep winning games, does David Price stay?
The Rays have won 15 of their last 18 road games, 7 straight. They're 12-4 in the month of July, and they are making it very difficult to trade that man.
The second wild card keeps teams in the race. Tampa Bay, a great example. They're only 5 games out of that spot.
Price scheduled to pitch Friday against the Red Sox, and the turnaround really came that day when the Cardinals were in St. Petersburg playing Tampa Bay on the 10th of June. Since that time, they're 24-11, the best record in baseball. And Madden says, and he's quoted as saying just yesterday, we're the best team in the league. He's not afraid to say that, which I admire. There's no kind of politic in it. He's just pretty much a straight shooter.
Yes, he is. Fun to be around, too. A 3-2 pitch, and he walked him. Second walk issued by Lynn. Back to the top of the lineup. Time now for you to tweet your photos using the hashtag STLFanPhoto. We'll show one of those photos later in our contest, and it's brought to you by AT&T. Runners at first and second. Here's Jennings, and a strike that catches the outside corner.
I mentioned the power of Jennings. You have to be careful with him. He broke an 0 for 8 with that double in the first inning, probably why he was first ball hitting, because he didn't want to get deep in the count because he'd been struggling a bit. He struck out 84 times. That's the bad news. But he does have 8 home runs in that leadoff spot.
Also leads their club in doubles with 24. That first pitch of the game, he nailed it down the third base line, just inside the line, and he was left stranded back in the first. Hitting 191 with runners in scoring position.
It's when, as a pitcher, you think, wait a minute, that's not supposed to happen. You want to call a do-over like you used to do in the backyard or down the street. It's like, wait a minute, time out.
Get your brother.
Do-over, I wasn't ready.
Tell him, get back in the batter's box.
I didn't know we were swinging at the first pitch. I wouldn't have thrown you that.
Frustrating, I'm sure, for Lance Lynn, because so much goes into the 4 days leading up to the start, and you're thinking about every single batter of the game.
It bursts the bubble pretty quickly.
Nice play by Cruz to keep that close.
I heard Steve Stone, the veteran broadcaster, he's worked for so many years with Harry Carey. I heard him talk about what he would do the night before a start. He would find out what the lineup was going to be or envision it, and before he went to bed, he would imagine he'd go through the lineup 3 times and he'd strike out all 9 guys, and he would mix up his pitches and he would envision the hitter, their weakness, what he would attack, and he mentally actually went through striking them out. So that's the plan. It doesn't happen, but you got to start there.
2-2 hit out of play.
I thought that made a lot of sense.
There are now coaches, and one of them being Bob Tewksbury, the former pitcher with the St. Louis Cardinals, now working for the Boston Red Sox, that their sole purpose with the team is to work on the mental side with the players.
Bob actually went back to school to work on that and get a degree in sports psychology. And I believe he's actually moved on from the Red Sox to work for Major League Baseball. He's actually available for all teams now. And Bob is an expert at that. He's been at our fantasy camp a number of years, and he's gone through some of his basic outlines about the mental game of baseball, and he is terrific. He is a very, very smart man. Was a good Cardinal.
Absolutely. A 3-2 pitch to Jennings. Runners go, and it's hit out to right. Tavares going back, plenty of room, and he makes the catch. Alex Cobb, first major league hit. It's a double and an RBI. 1-0 Tampa Bay. Is brought to you by Schnucks, your neighborhood hometown grocer for 75 years. Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box for the new jalapeno ranch or barbecue ultimate cheeseburgers at participating restaurants. And by 5 Hour Energy, recognizing those who, despite their own needs, put others first. The Eads Bridge. Very nice night for baseball here in the Gateway City. We welcome you back to Busch Stadium. Cardinals have played in 6 different parks. Union Park, it began in 1892. Then League Park, Robinson Field, Sportsman's Park, then was renamed Busch Stadium. And you had Busch Stadium 2 until 2005. That opened up in 1966. And this ballpark opened up in 2006.
And it opened up with a bang, didn't it?
Sure did.
World champions that year. Great crowds all season long. I just loved everything about that year, Dan. We were kind of learning the venue, learning kind of how to go from place to place and our role, but I think the players were trying to figure out how's the ball going to carry here and what are some of the sight lines like, and really settled in quickly. And the Cardinals maybe didn't settle in quickly in terms of their record, but they sure did finish well.
Started off, actually, you may remember, red hot, and Pujols had just an amazing couple of months. And then it was grinded out. And the Cardinals
hang on,
kind of backed into the playoffs, if you will. And once you're in, you're in. And they got hot at the right time. The play by Rafael Belliard in San Diego. After that, Jim Edmonds said, we need to start awarding a game ball. There's a playoff game at Petco. Game-saving play by Belliard to his left, the second baseman. Took a hit and RBI away, and with that, The game ball started to be awarded as Adams puts it in play, and it rolls just foul. And the rest is history.
Dan, some of those 2006 players were here for the Cardinals fantasy camp that we had over the All-Star break, or just before the All-Star break, here at Busch Stadium. Had 45 campers from all over the country come in, and we had a panel where we interviewed players on that 2006 team. Jeff Suppan was here, and we had Gary Bennett was back, Jason Isringhausen, Jim Edmonds, and it was just a Randy Flores as well, and really a great discussion about what they went through in 2006 and how special that season was. It was good to have them all together.
Adams called out on strikes. 3 on the night, and now 3 strikeouts in a row for Alex Cobb.
Dan, we talked about the very unusual delivery of Alex Cobb. Starts with his left foot in front, stops, goes up, stops again, and kind of keeps his leg just balanced in midair, and then goes to the plate. So there's multiple change of speeds worked into his windup. He thinks he's going to be Bronson Arroyo at first, then he stops his leg, then he lets it hang there, and then he still somehow manages to throw downhill. I would think he'd have to have very strong legs to pitch with that delivery.
And they talk about that. They say his lower half is as strong as anybody in baseball.
Has to be, or he'd be all over the place. His command would be terrible. I mean, the balance you have to have when he gets to right there, and the precision that you have to throw a strike from that position, you have to have strength.
Alex Cobb, it was just a little over a year ago, not that long ago, June 15th of last season against Kansas City. Eric Hosmer hit a line drive off his head. Cobb went down for many minutes. He missed 2 months after that. And he actually endorses now kids growing up wearing protective gear. Pitchers that should wear protective type headgear to take away the issues that we've seen with comebackers and those line drives. And you may be asking yourself, well, if he endorses it, why isn't he doing it? As Peralta strikes out, he said he tried. He just can't get used to wearing that hat, but he thinks that kids, because they don't know any better growing up, would eventually get used to it and be no problem once they got to professional baseball or the college ranks, but as they got older.
I think that makes a lot of sense. You think about when the flaps first came in with the helmets. I mean, there was a time where hitters at the plate were wearing just regular hats. Of course, coaches started wearing helmets a number of years ago after a tragic death with Michael Kubal in the minor leagues, who got hit with a line drive while he was trying to help a guy get a lead off of first base. And so they're getting used to that now, and it's kind of not a big deal. But even the hitters at the plate, you went to the hard helmet first, then the hard helmet with a flap, and then, of course, at Little League levels, you're wearing 2 flaps, and in some cases cages over the front part of the helmet. And again, it's just a matter of what you're used to.
Almost all Little Leaguers are wearing that now. The cage, the football-style cage in front of the face.
And it makes sense. And the younger you start with that, the better.
0-2 on Oscar Taveras. So Taveras, who just turned 22 last month, gets the start tonight. He's hitting 200. And Matheny compared Taveras' situation to that of Matt Adams basically a year ago, when there were times Adams sat when he had Carlos Beltran and Craig doing his thing, and Adams was the odd man out. And he said, well, maybe Oscar Taveras may be that guy this year. And he rips it into right center field on a 1-2 pitch. Remember, when the Cardinals score 6, you'll get any size drink for just 50 cents at On the Run. And the next day, keep the savings going with the $5 sandwich, chips, and drink meal deal. See store for details at your nearest On the Run.
Don't be surprised if Oscar Taveras hits 290 this year for the Cardinals.
If not better. I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
I know there are many that are kind of down on him because he's had a slow start, and there's some at-bats where he hasn't produced, but I just think he's a special talent at the plate. I think he's born to hit. He's not a great outfielder, admittedly, but I just think he can flat out hit. He just has dangerous at-bats, power is not really his thing as much as being a gap hitter, but the occasional power comes through as well.
John Jay at the plate. It seems like John has really taken control of the starting situation in center field. He's earned it, batting .292, 1 home run, 22 driven in. To further your point, Rick, last night when Taveras pinch hit in the ninth, that was just his 5th at bat since July 12th. So to put up those numbers or to get on a roll, you've got to play. And I'm sure the Cardinals are trying to give Craig every chance in the world to get him back on track. There is a track record there. With Taveras, it's the unknown.
It's an interesting kind of synergy between, you got to play to get on track, or you got to get on track to play. Chicken and egg. I mean, you really, he hits the ball like he did just then, he'll get to hit more. John Jay wasn't supposed to play at all this year, and guys weren't hitting, and John Jay came in, just kept hitting, and all of a sudden you can't keep him out of the lineup. He's hitting .290, and he's your center fielder most days, and guy that can hit left-handers. Well, why is that? Well, he took advantage of those small opportunities. They gave him bigger ones, and he could have just kind of complained and gone and sat in a corner somewhere and had a bad at-bat and complained about, well, I don't get to hit enough. Well, that doesn't help. It doesn't give you another opportunity. So that's Taveras' job right now.
3-2 the count, so Oscar Taveras off with this pitch. Tony Cruz on deck. Cardinals trailing 1-0. Alex Cobb with an RBI double. There goes Taveras, and Jay fights it off, and we'll do it again. Cardinals will have the off day tomorrow, and then it'll be 3 at Wrigley Field. Off day on Monday, 3 at San Diego. Joe Kelly, Shelby Miller, Adam Wainwright set to pitch this weekend at Wrigley Field. Strikeout of John Jay, and 5 through 2 innings for Alex Cobb. And the Cardinals, I don't think there's any questioning the fact that they are better defensively this year. The question becomes how you want to rank them, and here's a look at one way to do it, a metric, a defensive run save.
Gaining a lot of popularity, and it's attempting to determine the amount of runs, literally, according to the name, that you save by the plays you make defensively, and you're going to, of course, lose points for runs that you allow through errors or balls you don't get to, and Johnny Peralta is leading the Cardinals in that department, and that's something that is a little better than advertised. When the Cardinals signed him in the offseason, he was really going to be a kind of a potential power guy, good hitter, 300 hitter, perhaps in the middle of your lineup from the right side, but he's turned into a good defender. We also saw Matt Adams on that list. My guess is Matt got a defensive run saved in that first inning on the play off the bat of Ben Zobrist. There's some subjectivity into that that is still a bit unclear to me, despite reading a lot about it, but I think the attempt is to get better and better at determining just how good a defender is by a metric other than fielding percentage.
One of those guys that was mentioned in that graphic and shown was Johnny Peralta, who has committed 8 errors this season, but I think he's been what we thought he was going to be defensively. Would you agree? We're talking about Johnny Peralta.
I think he's better. I think he's better than advertised. I think we knew that Peralta would catch the ball. Maybe that's the difference. You knew he would catch the ball, but what about the range? And the defensive run saved, I think, takes that into consideration, Dan. I think that's the real difference, is just how much I don't know if he's improved on his range. That Jose Oquendo has something to do with that. Chris Maloney, or maybe just hard work, or maybe he's figured something out. But I've seen a shortstop who I would say has better than average range, which is not what we heard about.
Speaking of range, how about this? Wong gets up and not in time, diving for first base, and a single for Matt Joyce. Wong ranging to his left from the outfield grass, and that was the kind of play that he hurt his shoulder on against Kansas City earlier this year.
That's a good point. He doesn't seem to be phased this time. Had a little trouble getting it out of his glove, but what an attempt there by Colton Wong. And you are right on time about the range. The glove almost comes off his hand. He reaches out so much, and the head first slide clearly in time. We'll skip Schumacher slide there.
So base hit for Matt Joyce. Longoria bounced into a 6-4-3 double play to end a threat in the first. He has started every game. Only Alcides Escobar and Alexei Ramirez have played more innings in the American League than Evan Longoria. Think about the great history the Cardinals have had, and the Rays trying to develop history. They began play in 1998, but Longoria, the all-time leader, as we mentioned earlier, RBIs, doubles, and home runs. Stan Musial is the record holder in all 3 of those categories for St. Louis. Stan, 475 home runs, nearly 2,000 RBIs. He had 1951, 725 doubles for Stan the Man.
And so if you're Tampa Bay and you want to try to build towards that kind of legacy and that kind of organizational connection and history, it seems to me that you might err on the side of keeping your star players with you longer. And Longoria and David Price, both names that have been talked about in terms of trades. And do you do yourself a disservice if you kind of cut short that historical connection that might be building with these really solid players?
Longoria is signed long-term. David Price is arbitration eligible next season and then a free agent. So if a team would get him this year, it could be for a season and 2 months, potentially. So much talk about their stadium. They don't draw well. There's a strikeout and the throw down to first. Back in time, Matt Joyce. One of the great days that we have here at the ballpark is Mizzou Day here at Busch Stadium. Fox Sports Midwest. The Cardinals have teamed up to bring you Mizzou Night. That'll be August 15th. Cardinals take on the Padres. It's a Mizzou themed ticket at cardinals.com/Mizzou. And what you'll get a Cardinals hat. Wear your black and gold. We'll see you on Mizzou Night, August 15th. Here's James Zaloni. Fly to left his first time up and grounds it left side. Carpenter cuts it off in front of Peralta. The high throw. The stretch by Adams. Tampa Bay strands their fourth runner of the night. Cruz coming up. The Diamondbacks, the Rockies, and the Miami Marlins. What they've done, well, they all have gotten to at least a World Series appearance. Arizona, that historic victory, 7 games against the Yankees to win their championship. Miami, a couple of championships, one against Cleveland, and the other was against the Yankees.
But what Miami did after they won both of those World Series championships is they dismantled right away. And so that whole thought of building tradition and building kind of a base of your fans, I think fans want to know that their stars are going to stay in the uniform of their favorite team. And I mean, within reason. And doesn't mean you pay a player whatever he wants, but you try to keep them in the organization, get them connected to the community the best way you can. And that's how you build, in my mind, that's how you build organizations like the Dodgers and the Giants and the Cardinals and the Yankees, as you keep tradition going.
Ground ball to the right side and a base hit for Tony Cruz. Start pounding your chest. And for those that missed it last night, why am I saying pound your chest?
Well, you're saying that because the walk-up song of Tony Cruz we noticed last night. Evidently he's been doing it for a couple of days, but we just kind of noticed it last night. He's using the soundtrack, if you want to call it that, from the movie Wolf of Wall Street, the part where Matthew McConaughey is pounding on his chest as he is teaching his young protege how to sell. And for some reason, Tony Cruz likes that. He's actually, according to Jim Hayes, doing it before he comes up to the plate.
I was watching as Lynn will sacrifice here and pushes it foul. Some of the players in the dugout
were doing it?
Yeah, they were starting to pound their chest. And
hey, if it works for Leonardo DiCaprio, it worked for Tony Cruz.
You know, Damon Oliver is, Descalso was one of the guys. Damon Oliver is the man that runs the music here at the ballpark. So I went in and had the chance to visit with him before the game tonight, and I said, what is the deal here with this Tony Cruz music? And he said, well, the players decide all their walk-up songs, whatever they want. That is strike two. And he said that Cruz told him, I hope the players bang their chests a little bit and then it catches fire amongst the fans here at the ballpark.
You and I are already doing it.
Oh, we're there. A little sore today.
I spent the 8th and 9th inning doing it last night.
Yeah. Damon was telling me the first day before the regular season, when the players have their workout, usually here at Busch, is when they'll put in their requests. However, it can change at any point in time. So much so that Adam Wainwright has called him in the middle of the game when Skip Schumacher was hitting. And Skip gave him the go-ahead to pick his music, and he would change it in the middle of the game. So Wainwright called one time up to the scoreboard room and said, hey, I want to change it to this. And they said, you're not Adam Wainwright. Click, hung up on him.
That's funny.
And then he called back and he said, this is Adam Wainwright. This is the music I want. And so Skip Schumacher's music was laid out by Adam Wainwright. John Jay, for instance, has two different versions of what he likes. They said David Freese would change nightly. So these guys are superstitious a little bit.
Well, if it's working, you want to stay with it, to be sure. I still like the point you made last night about the Lance Berkman walk-up song. That's still one of my, I guess, the song that kind of sticks in your head the most, because how it would just reverberate here at the ballpark. And it was often in the middle of a big rally, and you'd hear Johnny Cash.
Lance, one of our favorites. As Carpenter showing bunt, pulls back in. How about Alex Cobb? First time through this lineup, he gives up a pair of hits. He strikes out 6 and a ground ball out. Part of building that tradition, if you're Tampa Bay in this day and age in sports, is having a facility that can generate revenue. And they feel that their ballpark, Tropicana Field, it's not going to do that. So they're creative with payroll. They're at the bottom 3 of payroll in Major League Baseball. They're creative with their shifts, creative manager, and creative front office, trying to gain any edge that they can because of the lack of funds that they deal with. Well, Tropicana Field was built in 1990. The idea was they'd bring a franchise to the area. They thought that would happen in '93, but the Rockies and Marlins got the expansion note. Then there was the competing bids in St. Pete, Tampa. And so essentially, Rick, they're playing in a stadium that isn't suitable for baseball. Longoria, what a play here. How good was that play from their third baseman?
Almost a perfectly executed hit and run. And you know that Cobb's going to throw a lot of sinkers to try to make you hit the ball on the ground. That pitch was actually up and away, and Carpenter tried to hit it through the left side. Longoria, the third baseman, actually gets it right in front of the second base bag. And really nobody covering third at the time, but Tony Cruz had to make sure he got to the bag so he couldn't advance from second to third. That was a terrific play.
And now Colton Wong with 2 outs.
Dan, to finish your point, I think, about the situation in Tampa Bay, not only do you need a creative manager and general manager, but you also need a positive manager and general manager. And I think that's what you have in Joe Maddon. He just is he doesn't whine about all those things you mentioned. You don't picture him out there complaining. He is just thinking nothing but strong, positive directions about his team, and that's how he communicates regularly, and I think the players respond to him.
Joe in his 9th season. It began with Hal McRae, Larry Rothschild, Lou Piniella, and now Joe Maddon, who spent all of spring training in a 40-foot RV. He figured that'd be fun. So he decided to well, I'm going to spend the night, live, for the next 6 weeks in an RV. So he did it. He's a fun guy.
Well, he's a fun guy that now has a Stan Musial autographed bat given to him by Mike Shannon. For those who missed that in our pregame show, pretty nice gift from Mike to Joe, who really had a great affection for the Cardinals when he was young.
I was in Joe's office before the game yesterday, and we had a nice conversation. And Ben Boyd, who is a longtime producer at KMOX, came in to visit with Joe, and he was holding a microphone that had the KMOX mic flag. And he said, "Hey, can I get that from you?" He said, "I'd really like that. Do you have one of those back at the station?" And Ben just took it right off his microphone and said, "Here you go."
How about that?
And he said, "Well, this would be perfect for my office." There's Mike Shannon and Jim Jackson. So Ben gave him that mic flag. And the reason why is because Joe Madden, even though he grew up in Pennsylvania, listened to the games on KMOX, and that's when he began his love affair of baseball and the St. Louis Cardinals.
And you know, whoever is ahead of the mic flag budget is now calling Ben Boyd, and he's in trouble. You ratted him out.
I did. We'll help him out. He's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Does a great job. 7 strikeouts. Cardinals with 20 or more wins and an ERA that's below 3.15 in the first 40 home starts. So a lot to digest there, but to give you an idea of how good Lance Lynn has been, you have to go back to Matt Morris, the most recent pitcher to have those type of numbers. Nelson Riles in the late 60s. Harry Brackeen, who was part of some very good teams with St. Louis, and Max Lanier, late 30s and early 40s. Yanel Escobar leads it off, followed by Jose Molina and Alex Cobb. Escobar scored the lone run tonight on a double by Cobb, his first major league hit. Ray's shortstop spent time on the disabled list with a right shoulder issue. He's come back in the last 7 games and provided a spark, getting well above 300. June 10th, they're 24-42. Since then, 24-11. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I think there's something special, Dan, when a team during that streak especially has played well on the road. And I think there's something important about that when you go on the road and you get hot, because on the road you're together more. I know that sounds maybe backwards, but when you're at home, players have their families and their charities and their things they do and their errands, and you just kind of get pulled away from each other a little bit. You get to the ballpark and you're really even separated there. But when you're on the road, it's just you and the guys hanging out for 7 straight days, and you can really get a sense of team and gelling. Jake Odorizzi, the winner here yesterday, part of a very solid young rotation, and I think they're just feeling it right now. And they are not a good team to be playing right now for the Cardinals, frankly.
Odorizzi now with 124 strikeouts, second among American League rookies. And we say rookies because Masahiro Tanaka of the Yankees is at 135, and we know about his great history pitching outside of Major League Baseball. I always kind of fight that battle. You know, when you hear Tanaka is a rookie, or Ichiro when he first came up, he's a rookie. Jake Odorizzi is a young player.
Right.
You know, Tanaka has spent time in the major leagues of just a different area. I'm sure it felt like a home game for him last night with all the folks from Highland here. He said it was the greatest win he's ever had. He was excited afterwards, as you might imagine. And a called third strike. Escobar screaming, and we can hear that up here. And he's been tossed. So Escobar ejected, and now Joe Madden is out.
Get the sense that there may be some history in that discussion that goes beyond just this particular at-bat with Escobar and Dan Bellino, the home plate umpire, that maybe there's been some other issues between the two, because he got rung up on a pitch he thought was low, and it almost seemed to him like, you keep doing this to me. And he was not going to stop until he got thrown out. Here's the pitch, the location, bottom of the zone. I think that's a legitimate strike.
Put it this way, with 2 strikes.
Yeah, you got to swing at that.
Yeah. Dan Bellino is a lawyer, by the way. He holds a law degree. He's passed the bar. Be tough to win some arguments against him.
Just saw Escobar holding up some fingers as if he was saying that's 3 times, or whatever the number is he was holding up. And he just had enough, and boys will be boys, Dan.
Line shot off the bat of Jose Molina down into the corner. He's extended his hitting streak to 9 games. August 3rd, the Cardinals take on the Brewers. It's the Build-A-Bear Workshop Day at Busch Stadium. 12,000 kids, 15 and under, entering with a ticket. Receive their very own limited edition Mini Clydesdale. So get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. That's a big, big weekend. The Brewers are in town. Giveaways all weekend long. The Beer Stein on Friday night. Then it's the kids' backpack at Christian Day on Saturday. That's nearly sold out. And then tickets available for Sunday and Build-A-Bear Workshop Day. Marcus Luttrell, lone survivor, will be the featured speaker for Christian Day, who is an American hero.
Oh, you're reading the book or finishing the book now, Dan, and I've had a chance to see the movie. I know many people have, and just an incredible story. And I understand from many who have heard him, when you hear it in person, it's just even more of an impact. And of course, Cardinal players will participate in Christian Day, as they have throughout the years, over 20 years of this particular event at the ballpark, selling tickets and staying after for a short program after the game, and everybody's invited. And I'm sure Mike Matheny will participate again this year, as he's done many times, and Marcus Luttrell will be a treat. I'm very sure of that.
2 balls and no strikes. The folks over at Fox Sports Midwest Live at Ballpark Village.
Wave if you love Dan. See, they did.
Cobb is hit by the pitch, and it gets him on the elbow, and he is down and in serious pain. And it looked to get the right elbow, his pitching arm.
one of the things you worry about American League hitters who are not used to seeing balls at the plate and developing the kind of the instinct to get out of the way, and just seemed this ball was running in on him, and there he's actually not even moving out of the way yet, and he just dips his elbow right on the tip of his elbow, and really there's no body movement to get out of the way. He stays in on it. He doesn't move till right about there, and it just hits the tip of the elbow, and there's not a lot of cartilage in that particular area, so you're talking about a lot of on-bone contact there, and he certainly still in some pain as he's being checked out by their team trainer. Wow.
So Cobb hit by the pitch. The ninth place hitter is Kiermaier. Alex Cobb has been on base twice, the pitcher. Kiermaier, a walk. That was back in the second inning. The Rays have had base runners every inning. One out. Runners at first and second. You'd have to think with a base hit, the Cardinals would have a good shot at trying to get Molina.
Fairly shallow in the outfield, surprisingly so, with the power of Kiermaier.
Most in the National League to hit batters. A lot coming from the Central Division. Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Chicago, all Central teams.
Kiermaier has 8 home runs, despite the fact he's hitting in the 9th spot, and John Jay is shallow in center, and so is Taveras shallow in right. Yeah, I think you're right. Clearly, not much on the base paths in terms of speed for Tampa Bay, and just wonder whether they're a little too shallow for Kiermaier.
2-1. Lynn is already at 67 pitches. Just one out here in the fourth. Struggling a bit with his control. He has walked 2 and now hit a man.
We saw what walks did to Adam Wainwright yesterday, and a hit by pitch and an error all in the same inning.
Three and 2.
They always hurt you. They're never planned. It's not as if you're trying to walk a batter. You just, unfortunately, as a human, you can't perform at the top level every single inning, every single day, and those things happen. But boy, it comes back to get you if you issue a walk.
And a strikeout of Kiermaier. He had tossed his bat. He thought it was going to be bases loaded, and instead it's another call on a 2-strike pitch that goes Lynn's way.
This time it's up and away, and also a strike. So I credit the home plate umpire, Bellino. Tampa Bay doesn't agree with it, but both of the strikeouts this inning were indeed strikes. On corners, but still strikes.
Desmond Jennings, 1 for 2 with a double. And he chops it foul. Baseball was really secondary for Desmond Jennings. He grew up as a fantastic football player, very athletic. His cousin may know the name of Andre Smith. He was the 6th overall pick in the NFL draft. Big old tackle back in 2009. Football is in their family, but lured towards baseball, and he made the right choice. He's a good player. Right now for Joe Madden, the concern is his base runner at first, and that's Ramos. Works out of their pen. They have 4 lefties, Cesar, Ramos, and remember, the pitcher Cobb was hit on the right elbow, so they're not sure how he'll respond. Breaking ball, this is down and in. 2 balls and 1 strike.
And you'd think that if it was an injury issue and Cobb wasn't able to throw, that they would give Ramos all the time he wanted, but I think the preference still is for him to at least start playing catch just in case he's needed. And I would say it's unclear right now. I don't think Cobb knows. One thing to stand out there on the base pass, but what's it going to feel like when you start to throw a baseball?
Watching him, he keeps shaking the right arm. He's trying to keep it loose. I'm sure they worry about swelling. You can see him making the fists. And a ground ball deep in the hole. Peralta force play at second. Anybody else might be safe at second base, but with the pitcher running, the Cardinals get out of the jam. Midway through 4. The man that runs the show concerning the field and its conditions, and apparently there have been some issues with the mound as the umpiring crew, in particular the crew chief Kerwin Danley, was brought in, and they started pointing towards the mound, and there have been some issues with this apparently, and now Alex Cobb has made his way to the mound, and prior to him being hit by a pitch, we had seen him on a handful of occasions question some of the dirt around what you see there, the pitching rubber. So they're going to work on the mound, and he can request to have this done, and obviously it will be done. It's good to see that he's able to pitch. I don't know if the Cardinal hitters are happy about that. He's been tremendous here tonight. He's already struck out 7 through 3 innings. And if you're just joining us, he was hit by a pitch from Lance Lynn on the right elbow and just beginning his warm-up tosses. So he wants to get comfortable with that mound, and Billy Finley trying to help him out. So Cobb is saying he's okay, continues to throw. And they're working on the dirt with the rubber, the pitching rubber. And I think one of the things that you think about too is that there's two sides to this, is that Lance Lynn is dealing with the same mound that Alex Cobb is having issues with.
Well, there are pitchers that like different things on the mound. Some would like it to be kind of a deeper hole in front of the rubber. Some would want it to be kind of harder, and some would want it to be kind of a little of a softer landing area. What most pitchers don't like is if there's a big hole that's just off of where you land. That's the worst thing. And, you know, they've really done a lot of work, I think, Dan, over the last 10 to 20 years in making mounds much more standardized. And there were some mounds that years ago that were very problematic. And you'd see this kind of sight all the time of grounds crew coming out to work on making the mound better and filling in holes.
Some changes now as Zobrist to play all over the field. Moves from second base to short. Logan Forsythe comes off the bench, and he'll play second base after the ejection of Yunel Escobar.
Does Escobar get the same table that Joe Madden had yesterday at Ballpark Village? I think that's the question. I think Jim Hayes needs to go find that out.
Great point. That's why you're one of the best. Always a step ahead. Is Rick Horton?
Well, I want to know what players are doing. Don't you?
Well, he's probably grabbing a plate of food and showered up, getting ready to leave town.
That's kind of a dull answer, but I think that's probably right.
Not much else you can do.
Right.
It is what it is. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Holiday. He struck out his first time up. We'll keep an eye on Cobb and his effectiveness here in the fourth. If that hit by pitch caused any type of ill effects in this ball game for him.
What players do getting dressed during games makes me think of one of my favorite stories. Danny Cox was dressed because he was going to be pitching the next day, and he was actually sitting up in the stands, and we had a fight with the Giants on the field, and we turned around, and there's Danny Cox. When the fight started, he ran into the clubhouse, got his uniform back on in a hurry, and went out on the field to participate. Had a chance to see Danny at a golf tournament this week. Just a dear, dear friend and an outstanding Cardinal pitcher.
8 strikeouts for Cobb. Danny is one of my favorites, and he's treated everyone so well over the years. But I'll say this, I wouldn't want to mess with him.
Yeah, he was like the cavalry that day.
Would not want to mess with him then, certainly not now. Now it's Adams. Alex Cobb's stuff tonight is filthy.
Hasn't changed with that hit by pitch either. Well, the split is unhittable, much like Odorizzi last night when he threw it right. It has really good movement to it, and Odorizzi was really crediting Cobb with helping him learn that pitch. Cobb's goes more straight down and has bigger movement to it. Odorizzi's was floating a bit and actually even going right to left, kind of in on a left-handed batter yesterday, but still very effective.
1 ball and 2 strike, and during this stretch of the 6-game winning streak for the Rays, their starters 6-0, 1.56 ERA. Adams with a base hit into center field. The Cardinals have their 3rd hit of the night. Mentioned last night that Tampa Bay, this is a staff that is on pace to potentially set the all-time record for strikeouts. They are a strikeout staff, to say the least.
The Cardinals, on the other hand, don't strike out very much on the offensive side. 3rd fewest in Major League Baseball. So you've got the team that strikes out hitters. You got the offense that doesn't strike out. Tampa Bay, by the way, doesn't strike out very often on the offensive side either. So they've got a huge spread. They're actually at plus 179 in terms of how many strikeouts they get versus how many strikeouts they allow from the offensive side. And again, they've got a terrific staff that knows how to put people away, and we saw it last night. We're seeing it tonight.
1 out, runner at first, and here is Peralta. Struck out 3 times last night, first time tonight. That last base hit off the bat of Adams was hit hard, and it was hit towards the middle. I just wonder what is going through the mind of Alex Cobb and how he gets over the mental hump.
Oh boy,
of what he dealt with of the comeback. And for those of you that didn't see it, it was as nasty a line drive against a pitcher you'll ever see.
Well, you have to deal with that, and I even wondered when he got hit by the pitch whether it was a fleeting thought in the back of his mind somewhere, because a different view, because now you're trying to get out of a pitch thrown at you instead of hit at you. But the way guys are hitting now, Dan, and we've started to measure more regularly speed off the bat, you're getting up to 110 miles an hour at times off the bat. I mean, that's just no time to react. And the mental hoops you have to go through as a pitcher to forget about it, certainly a challenge.
I wonder how often he'd rather go inside than leave a ball outside, because great hitters, outside pitch, they take it up the middle or go the other way.
In years of throwing batting practice as a coach, I can tell you that's the safe zone. You throw it in, let them pull it all they want.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to get them out, that doesn't always work.
No, sir. Here's a 2-2. Runner goes. That's Adams. A throw to second, and he is out. Jose Molina catches his second base stealer in this series. Last night it was Colton Long.
It was not a classic hit and run count, but I wonder if there's a sign miss there somewhere. Molina, we mentioned last night, had only thrown out 17% of the runners who tried to steal against him, so maybe that factors in. I actually like to see hit and runs with a guy who's been striking out, because I think that forces the guy at the plate to just think about contact and not think about anything other than just put the ball in play, which sometimes gets your swing back, gets you seeing the ball hit off the bat, and kind of simplifies your mechanics a little bit at the plate. And I wonder whether the hit and run was on there.
3-2 pitch. Through Cobb's legs, and that's thrown away by Zobrist. A base hit for Johnny Peralta.
Zobrist had to go a long way, and I'm not sure he's going to get him anyway with a good throw. Wasn't hit that hard. Again, one of those cases of the reflexes of Cobb having to deal with the ball hit back to him.
Here's Oscar Taveras. Single to right center on a 1-2 pitch. Taveras is sitting on 1 home run. That one caught Molina, and he's shaking his hand.
They want to take a break and pull those cheese and crackers out of his back pocket. For those who missed it early in the game, Jose Oquendo left him a little snack on top of home plate when going out to coach third base. And Molina, I'm sure they're not there anymore, but he put him in his back pocket for a while for safekeeping.
0-2. Two outs, 0-2 on Taveras. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is with us as well on Fox Sports Midwest. Alex Cobb, the story tonight. He has driven in the only run in this game, and he has struck out 8. And Tavares fights it off into shallow center. Desmond Jennings puts it away for the out. 1-0 Tampa Bay. Packed house again here at Busch Stadium. Misto Griffin out of Arkansas. Feel a bit under the weather, but never misses a game, and want to see him back here at the ballpark very, very soon. Ben Zobrist leads it off. Mentioned last night, he is from Eureka, Illinois, not too far away here from St. Louis. He actually chartered 2 buses, bought 110 tickets for those in his hometown to make their way here to St. Louis. He spent the night Sunday, all day Monday in Eureka. What's interesting about him, he was an All-Star in 2009, which was held here at Busch Stadium. He caught the final out of that game. Offered it to Mariano Rivera. That ball, he picked up the save, and Rivera said, I got plenty of them. You keep it. And he still has that final out from the 2009 All-Star game here at Busch Stadium.
That's outstanding. My understanding is he actually went on the bus that he chartered too, which is pretty much a indication of the kind of guy he is and the kind of connected small town he's from, and had a chance to visit that area a couple of years ago and met some of his extended family there. I'm sure they were on that bus and was at a local prayer breakfast, and they just could not say enough good things, of course, about the Cardinals, but a lot of Ben Zobrist fans there in that community, as there should be.
Here's a 2-2 by Lynn. Hit out of play. The Rays have picked up their run with an RBI double that was in the second from Alex Cobb, a 2-out RBI. Looked like on that play there may have been fan interference on that ground ball that was inside the first base line and then touched the sidewall and looked to be touched by a fan. Apparently not. It was ruled it was still in play by the umpire.
And it would not have mattered anyway whether they called interference or not. The run would have scored either way.
Left center, and Jay is there.
but it did open up the possibility of Oscar Taveras throwing out the pitcher Cobb at second base, and the umpire was right down there. He saw it. He said no, he didn't touch it, the fan, I mean, and so the umpire was right on that call. And plenty of fans hoping for some late Cardinal offense here tonight, but Cobb has been outstanding.
Third place hitter in this lineup is Matt Joyce.
If you're wondering, Dan, and I know you are, about the season high of strikeouts for Alex Cobb, it's 11. That came against the Astros. In June, his career high is 13.
The way that things are going tonight, he'll get to 11 potentially in the 5th. He's already at 8. Catch every highlight, big moment, every story. Fox Sports Live on Fox Sports 1. That's nightly across the country. Matt Joyce has walked and also has an infield hit. Here's a 2-1. Matt Joyce hits from this side of the plate. Everything else that he does is right-handed. Throws right, shoots baskets right. He said as a kid this is just something that felt natural to him, so he swings from this side of the plate. And it's a walk, and Lance Lynn has walked 3 tonight. August 1st, the Cardinals take on the Brewers, and Budweiser is providing 25,000 fans, ages 21 and older, the 4th Stein in the championship series. That's highlighting the 50th anniversary of the Cardinals' '64 championship team. Get your tickets for August 1st, Cardinals.com/promotions. Evan Longoria bounced into a 6-4-3 double play to end a threat in the first and struck out in the third. We know him now as one of the top players in the game. When he came out of high school, he went undrafted. The only college that showed any interest in Longoria was USC, but didn't offer him a scholarship, so he went to junior college. Got a lot bigger, a lot stronger, matured. Eventually wound up at Long Beach State. Longoria, and we've seen his range in this series, and tonight he was a shortstop. However, a player named Troy Tulowitzki was at short, so Longoria had to move to third. Think about that college left side of your infield.
Well, whoever recruited for that particular school should have gotten a raise.
This guy can flat out play. Tulowitzki can flat out play.
I'll say.
He's on the disabled list right now. That really has been the only knock on him in his career on a personal level. You know, can he stay healthy? That's pulled foul. Recent article talking about Tulowitzki, and his favorite player growing up was Derek Jeter, who's won all these championships. His favorite football player was Dan Marino. And his dad told him, do you want to be the guy that's a great individual player, or do you want to be a guy that's a part of championships? And you're torn between the two.
Can I have both?
Yeah. Tulowitzki is looked at his former teammate in Holliday. You see the strikeout for Lynn, and that's number 5. But Matt Holliday facing that, similar dilemma when he was in Colorado, and now has been a part of some championship teams. FoxSportsMidwest.com. It's your home for Cardinals coverage all season long. Game previews, recaps, videos, features, latest analysis from Stan McNeil and Nate Lash. It's all on FoxSportsMidwest.com. There's a look at Stan. Either he is listening to some interviews or the latest from Willie Nelson. Or maybe the Wolf of Wall Street soundtrack.
We're going to get a little bit of that in the bottom of the 5th, and I, for one, can't wait.
The intro theme song for Cardinals catcher Tony Cruz.
A lot of Twitter chat about that becoming, people hoping that it might become a Cardinal rally cry. Painful one, but let's do it.
Loney, oh, nice play here. The backhand, a one-hopper, and Adams makes the play. James Loney robbed by his counterpart. Midway through 5. Tampa Bay on top. Field. It will be their Friday pregame show at 2:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. The Budweiser What's on Tap. Joe Kelly and the lefty Wood, who's 7-9, will go for Chicago. Looking forward to that. Always fun to head to Chicago and Wrigley Field. Minus Jeff Samardzija.
Cubs made that move a couple of weeks ago and really kind of banking on their future young players to at least all get good about the same time. Maybe a couple of years from now might be kind of what they're hoping for, but anytime the Cardinals play the Cubs, you're never really quite sure what the series is going to look like. It's not always what you might think on paper. Any Cardinal fan knows that.
A 1-0 pitch to John Jay. And a ground ball hit to the right side, easily handled by James Loney.
Here it comes.
Tony Cruz.
Turn it up at home.
Come on.
I love it.
That doesn't fire you up. I don't know what would.
My favorite part is watching the fans and their reaction to Tony Cruz. They're kind of looking around like, what? Wait, what? Do they mean to be playing this?
We were there, Dan, not long ago.
That's the field for many of the families to come down and enjoy at Ballpark Village, which is located where the infield was with the Busch Stadium 2, which closed after Game 6 of the 2005 NLCS. Roy Oswalt shut the door on Busch Stadium 2 in the Cardinal season.
Dan, as we said in our open, that is just a fun place to be. Of course, Ballpark Village inside has tremendous places as well to eat and hang out and watch the game. But that field is occupied every night with kids just hanging out, having a good time at the ballpark. It's really, really fun.
It's one of the rare movies I haven't seen, The Wolf of Wall Street. Certainly I will very soon, and it sounds like a great family movie.
I recommend that you fast forward through a number of parts, Dan, is what I'm
make sure I get my 4 kids together and say, come on kids, get the popcorn going. We've got The Wolf of Wall Street.
As long as your kids are over 30, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. As you know, I got a lot of time on my hands to be watching movies, and especially family time. Let's see. We go Frozen. Check.
You're safer there, trust me.
Nice play, Longoria. 101 Dalmatian. Yeah, we can do that. How about a little SpongeBob? Yeah, I'll mix that one in. And oh, by the way, kids, come on in. It's The Wolf of Wall Street. Family fun over at my house. Come on over, Rick.
Oh, my.
Here's Lynn, and that's strike 1.
You'd have to have the earmuffs working. And
kids' earmuffs. That's another movie I should bring in for family fun.
Don't watch that one either. Whoa. Pretty good aim right there.
I think T. West is manning that camera. T. West.
He was.
Yeah, works up here with us. Runs that camera from our broadcast booth. Is it working, T? It still is. He says it's fine. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Apparently he's safer doing it this way. And we love T. West, don't we?
We do. Great job. And a strikeout of Lynn. That's 9 tonight for right-hander Alex Cobb. And the Cardinals are teaming up with Bank of America to bring fans an unbeatable deal. How about this? $9 tickets for the entire Red Sox series. So these tickets go on sale tomorrow, 10 a.m. at Cardinals.com. On sale tomorrow, 10 a.m. at Cardinals.com. And they will sell out. Beautiful night here in St. Louis. What a shot that is. 40,000 plus strong here at Busch Stadium. Logan Forsythe, 6th inning rolls in. And Forsythe is now in the spot that was occupied by Yunel Escobar after he was ejected. His second plate appearance, called out on strikes. That pitch taken high. Lance Lynn is trying to become a 12-game winner. Turned 27 back on May 12th. And here at home, he is 7-2 this year. At the knees, 1 ball, 1 strike. ERA is about a run higher on the road than it is here at home. He's 4-4 away from Busch Stadium. Two and one. Tampa Bay trying to make it 7 straight wins, 8 straight on the road. Here's a 2-2 and a strikeout. Strikeout number 6 from righty Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn trying to win his 12th game. There are 4 pitchers in baseball with 12 wins. Simon Tanaka, Porcello, and the Cardinals' Adam Wainwright, who all have 12. And Lance Lynn pitching very well tonight. And, of course, we're having a lot of conversation about what Alex Cobb is doing because he's just dominating this Cardinals lineup. But Lance Lynn is really matching him. Just that 1 run that came in the 2nd inning, where he allowed Alex Cobb to fight off a pitch, take it the other way, and pick up a double. Really the difference in this game, but Lance Lynn has been very, very good.
97 pitches, checked at 98 tonight for Lynn. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jose Molina, who struck out on a breaking ball back in the 2nd and doubled to the wall and left in the 4th.
I believe, Dan, that was Cobb's first big league hit. And can you imagine your first big league hit being the difference in a ball game?
Right now it is. He stands on deck. That's right down the middle. Strikeout of Molina. And 7 tonight. Struck out 3 of the last 4 he's seen.
So Lynn's getting his strikeouts with an explosive fastball. And there's another example of it, hitting the outside corner. Cobb getting his strikeouts on a dazzling split finger changeup that the Cardinals have just not been able to adjust to.
Very shallow for Cobb, who takes a ball low and away. It was a 2-out RBI down the right field line that scored Escobar, the only run tonight. And then last time up was in the 4th. He was hit by a pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. What could be the final inning for Lance Lynn. You've got the off day tomorrow. You're coming off an off day on Monday, plus the All-Star break. And there is Choate on the left, the lefty, and Seth Maness on the right. Three and 0. So 2 outs, nobody on. 3 balls, no strikes. 3 and 1. Looking ahead to the Cardinals half of the sixth, they'll have Matt Carpenter, Colton Wong, and Matt Holliday due up.
I think you're right, Dan. 105 pitches and the off days to consider. Mike Matheny hoping this is the last pitch of the night for Lance Lynn and that he takes care of Alex Cobb.
Here's a 3-2. Chopped up the middle. Peralta makes the play. A 1-2-3, top of the sixth for Lance Lynn. Beautiful night here in the Gateway City. Cardinals game, Homer Road, with MLB at bat, and find it at Cardinals.com. Along with Ricky Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is with us as well. Final game of this brief two-game set here in St. Louis between Tampa Bay and St. Louis.
Love seeing smiling faces at the ballpark. Really, Dan, we see it each and every night, and of course you want the score to always be in your favor. The Cardinals just trailing by 1, but so many people having a good time here at the ballpark with their family, enjoying the summer at Busch Stadium. I think the kiss cam is probably bringing on more of the smiles now than the 1-0 score that we're dealing with, but the Cardinals certainly have the ability to come back in this game. Plenty of time left.
It's a famous date in baseball history. Jackie Robinson, the first African-American inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. Of course, he broke the color barrier in 1947. Retired at the age of 37. And diabetes was an issue that he dealt with at the time. And his body deteriorated because of the state of medicine at that time in our country.
I've said this many times, and I'm not going to get tired of saying it, even if people get tired of hearing it. But if you ever get a chance to go visit the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City and the Jazz Museum right alongside it, please do it. You'll be glad you did.
Here's Matt Carpenter. Carpenter is 0 for 2 with a pair of groundouts, and he drives it into right. This could be trouble. That ball is down. He's thinking too. Kiermaier fires into second base. Carpenter in there with a double to start the bottom of the sixth.
You love the hustle of Matt Carpenter. I can promise you that he was aware of the arm strength of the right fielder, Kiermaier, who has a cannon. And he's thinking right about now, I'm taking a chance, but I got to take it. And strong throw a bit high from Kiermaier, but it's fun to watch a guy throw like this. That ball is a rocket. That's 95 miles an hour probably from the right fielder into second base, and he's got really one of the best arms that I've seen this season from a right fielder.
This becomes a very important at bat for Colton Wong. Either drive him in, but at least advance him to third and give Holliday a shot. Holliday leading the club in RBIs with 51. So he's on deck, and here's Colton Wong, who has struck out twice. And Wong and Holliday combined 0 for 4 with 4 Ks against Alex Cobb tonight.
In this at bat, Dan, you throw on-base percentage out the window. You throw power and slugging percentage out the window. Wong's job has nothing to do with those two things. It's exactly what you said. Somehow, some way, it doesn't matter what way. Get Matt Carpenter on third base, period.
And an 0-1 pitch. He was showing bunt. Pulled back, took a ball, 1-1.
That's one way to do it.
They've got Longoria playing in on the grass. Loney is back a little bit more than Longoria is, and we'll see exactly how the Rays want to play this. The speed of Wong certainly is a factor in any type of play that you're looking at here, too.
Carpenter, a good enough base runner that Loney better be sure of making that throw across the diamond. But he is playing shallow just in case the ball's hit hard to him.
Gets the bunt down. It's a beauty. Longoria to first. What a play that is. He's bunting to move the runner over, but also almost bunted for a base hit.
Well, you put pressure on him. You got the defense dealing with a pressure situation. He did square. It is a sacrifice. Perfectly done. Gets on top of the ball, but hey, might as well try for more, and Longoria has to make an off-balance throw to get the speedy Wong. Perfectly executed by Colton Wong.
And the biggest at bat of the night for the Cardinals is right here. Holliday. He's hitting .363 with runners in scoring position. Top 5 in that category, the National League. First for the Cardinals. First pitch to him.
We've talked about the resurgence of power of the Cardinals, and when you score a run via the home run, one guy has to do the job. When you manufacture a run, 3 guys have to do the job. Carpenter did his, Wong did his, now it's up to Matt Holliday.
Huge gap in left center. Desmond Jennings shading Holliday the opposite way. And remember the play he made on Matt early last night, that running catch on the track near the wall, near the Cardinals bullpen.
Cardinals would take that right now.
Two strikes on Holliday. And once again, keep hammering this point, but Cobb has had that splitter or the changeup. The ball that just tails in on the righties. He really drops down, goes away from the lefties, and he has been outstanding here tonight. This crowd ready to explode. The 1-2 pitch to Holliday. We'll do it again.
Interesting, Cobb trying to elevate there, which is against his normal way of getting outs. Trying to get Holliday to chase up in the zone.
And a 2-2. Just missed inside.
Holliday is such a good low ball hitter. Cobb works low in the zone.
The 3-2 pitch. Holliday bounces it to Longoria, and a play at the plate, and Carpenter is tagged out. Evan Longoria has had a tough night at the plate. Pair of strikeouts, bounced into a 6-4-3 double play with 2 runners on in the first inning, but he's made up for it at times with his glove this evening.
Yeah, he makes a throw under pressure here. Again, he's got to make sure it doesn't hit Matt Holliday. I think that's what the Cardinals at least are banking on here. Make him make the throw, make the play. Really not a close play at the plate, but the tag got him in time.
Tailing away from the lefty. Strike one on Adams, who has singled. That was in the 4th. Was then caught stealing. We thought potentially a missed sign on that play. And also was called out on strikes back in the 2nd. There's the 0-1.
Cobb really went to his strength there, didn't he, with Holliday? Got him to hit that sinker down into the ground to Longoria.
The Cardinals with 5 hits tonight. They have stranded 3. Cobb has struck out 9. The 2-1. 2-2.
Matt Holliday, by the way, Dan, going into that at bat, had been hitting .363 with runners in scoring position, as you mentioned. And it has been his strength this season. And so Cobb was going to his strength. Holliday was in his strong situation and just didn't come through.
The 2-2 inside to Adams. Let's see if Cobb leaves one over the middle of the plate. Matt could drive it into right center. They shade him opposite field. On the infield, they play him to pull.
It's the fun thing about a 1-0 game. You can just imagine one little pitch making a difference.
And Cobb makes the play. They get out of the jam. Runner at third, Holliday up. And the Rays still own a 1-run lead.
The Rays catcher tagged out Matt Carpenter in the bottom of the 6th inning to preserve the 1-0 lead on this play. And it's a throw by Longoria, and Molina is actually kind of in the base pass, but you can see him kind of giving way to make sure he gives a lane to slide for Matt Carpenter. And kind of a tough call for an umpire in my mind, Dan, to make, because a catcher has to go over the plate to get to the front of the plate, to get in the position where he's not blocking home. And on that throw, he certainly had the ball in plenty of time and pretty much of a moot point. But I would think you're going to have some issues at some point when a catcher is moving towards getting in the right position, but he's essentially blocking the plate at the wrong time. But Molina, I think, was trying to make sure all appearances were that he was giving Matt Carpenter a lane.
Here is Kiermaier, the right fielder. And to me, that's been the biggest issue of the rule. You know, it's not just a play where a third baseman is throwing it. You're not sure where the ball is going to go. But think about that throw from a right fielder. This is lifted out to left. Holiday makes the catch. Lynn is still in this game. Well over 100 pitches tonight. He's at 109. You know, the bang-bang plays at the plate, and you've got a strong arm from right. Many times you'll see that ball tail up the third base line, and to make that catch, your momentum and your body will take you in that sliding lane.
It's one of the things I love about baseball, and there's so many things. I know I say that a lot, but it's a game that has an artistry to it, and it's a game that has nuances to it. So you think you're creating a very simple rule: don't block the plate. Okay, but what about when there's a throw from the third baseman and you've got to come in front of the plate, as we just saw? Throw from an infielder takes you up the line. There's always a yeah, but what about? And if you watch enough baseball games,
it'll happen.
Those nuances happen
all the time.
They do, and it creates a subjectivity, which I think leads to discussion and disagreement and maybe agreement at the end, maybe not, but it's what makes baseball interesting.
0-2 here on their leadoff man in the lineup, Desmond Jennings, who has doubled. That was back in the first. He's flied to right, grounded into a fielder's choice. I think they'll make adjustments, and from what we've heard from folks around baseball, they will make adjustments with replay, with the home plate collisions. They've already made the adjustment of the rule of how a catch is regarded in the game, which I think was the right thing that they did to handle that now.
I think if you like black and white, you need to pick a different sport. Maybe chess. You either win or you don't.
Here's a 1-2. Fouled back and a good cut.
Not as interesting, though, in my mind.
No.
But highly interesting. St. Louis becoming a chess mecca, in fact.
Rex Sigfield, who has brought the Chess Hall of Fame to St. Louis and the Central West End. One of his passions.
I've been reminded that there's the great chess conundrum about whether to castle or not, so maybe it isn't so black and white.
Oh, will you stop? I was with you for a while, and now that.
My hope every broadcast is to get just beyond where you're with me.
But I appreciate that, too. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Jennings rips it out to left, and a ball that hung up. So 2-hit night for Desmond Jennings.
Now you got to watch out for the speed. Exactly right. And very different without Yadier Molina behind the plate.
Grab your piggy bank and turn your change into delicious chicken. For a limited time, get McDonald's juicy white meat chicken McNuggets. Switch hitting Ben Zobrist. Strike one. Again, Jennings leading their club in stolen bases with 12. Pitch count, keep an eye on that. Now at 117 for Lance Lynn. Manus continuing to throw in the pen. This could be two if Wong gets there. It slides under his glove into shallow center field. And Jennings on his way to third. You wonder if Wong was thinking about gloving it and then flipping it out of the glove to try to get that potential double play.
I thought he was thinking about part two before he completed part one, whether it was the flip or whether it was going to be a bare hand flip, but he certainly had a chance to get that just scooted under the glove. He's trying to picture where Peralta is and what am I going to do with it, and he just didn't get low enough. The ball scooted under, and that's even worse. Had the ball been at least knocked down at first and second, but now you've got a runner at third base, Dan, with just one out.
An error ruled on Wong, his seventh. That's it for Lance Lynn. And here comes the bullpen for Mike Matheny's club. Tight situation for Randy Choate when we come back. Fan photo of the night. Randy Choate comes into the game with runners at first and third, and the Cardinals down by a run. Randy this year, the lefties 083, the righties at 395, and Joe Madden is going forward here as he'll pinch hit, and this will be Brandon Geyer who will pinch hit for Matt Joyce. So they're going to go with that right-handed matchup against Choate.
Part of the problem of being a left-handed specialist is sometimes you're brought in to face a guy that you will not face. And you have to be ready to have some way of getting out a right-handed batter as well. Randy is certainly more comfortable, and the numbers will show it, as we just saw on that full screen, that Choate is much better against left-handed hitters, but he needs an out. So do the Cardinals right here.
That pitch taken inside. The error on Wong, his seventh, scooting under his glove, and now runners at the corners. One out.
Brandon Geyer just 1 for 10 as a pinch hitter with 4 strikeouts.
Adams holding at first. Carpenter is even with the bag at third. Middle infield about halfway. The 1-0 instead of check on the runner at first, and again that's Ben Zobrist.
Thought we might see Sean Rodriguez in this position. He's got 10 home runs for Tampa, and his father Johnny is a minor league manager with the Cardinals.
Two balls and no strikes.
Talked to Johnny about Sean. He said he had a game-winning hit against the Yankees. It's the absolute thrill of his life. It's great to see his son do that. He's a terrific manager, by the way, working with young Cardinal prospects.
We see him in spring training.
We do. Very positive guy. Key moment here.
The 2-0. Cardinals have activated, by the way, 25-year-old Kevin Segrist. Missed 2 months, had the forearm strain and nerve issue in his shoulder. Late last week, he appeared in back-to-back games. He threw 27 pitches on Monday night, had 5 appearances for Springfield, so they're going to be careful with him as he comes on back to the bullpen.
Big part of that being careful might be, at least at first, having him start an inning as opposed to coming in with guys on base. And yeah, he's a strikeout artist, but you know, that extra little adrenaline that he was talking about wanting to get a couple of the miles per hour back, you don't want it to be so much adrenaline that you overthrow and re-injure yourself.
That's what I was alluding to, maybe a non-leverage, high-leverage situation.
Start an inning.
Long look by Choate, and time is called. Randy Choate pitched with Tampa Bay. He's pitched for a bunch of teams over the years. He's in year 2 of a 3-year contract with St. Louis. The 2-1. And he hit him. So the Cardinals have hit 2 tonight. The other was Alex Cobb back in the 4th. And now Geyer hit by a pitch. Bases are loaded, and Mike Matheny goes to his bullpen yet again. This will be Seth Maness. They need a double play. He was the guy that could do that time and again a year ago. Bases loaded, 1 out when we come back. Year, he induced 16 double plays. It was first among relievers in the National League and second only to Jim Johnson of Baltimore at 17. That's what he's done this year, and he needs a big double play or a ground ball here off the bat of Evan Longoria.
Tough assignment with Longoria, who is 0 for 3. He did bounce into a double play in that first inning, Dan. When we talk about key moments, here's another one.
You only keep a guy like Longoria down for so long. He struck out twice, grounded into a pair of one double play, and on the first pitch, flies to center. Runner will tag, and it's a 2-run Tampa Bay lead. Longoria picks up the RBI, number 50.
Situational hitting right there for Longoria. Maness needs to try to get him to hit the ball on the ground. He wants to hit it in the air. Location up a bit. Maness meant that sinker to be down and in to get a ground ball. Instead, it's a fly ball and a 2-0 lead.
James Loney hitless tonight, 3 plate appearances. Fastball at a strike. You hear the more use they get, sinker ballers, it's more effective for them, and Seth Maness does not agree. I was talking with him before the All-Star break. We were in Milwaukee, and I said, well, that's a theory. You know, you hear a lot of people talk about that, and he said, not for me. And
well, you know, my stance on that. And
I just want to feel good is what he said.
Yeah, and I've heard that for years, too, and I never found that to be true either. And I think the indication is, with the teaching on it, which I think is true, if you're feeling strong, you maybe have a tendency to try to overthrow and straighten it out, which you have to overcome. But I'd rather feel good than feel bad. I'd rather feel strong than feel weak.
And that was his point.
It may not be true for every sinker ball pitcher, but I'm on that side.
Just missed a little low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Runners off with this next pitch. 3-2, 2 outs. First and second occupied. And he walked him.
You know, Dan, we showed that shot of Mike Matheny, helpless, really. He picks the guy who he thinks is best for the situation, but you're standing there and you think about the internal churning that goes on for not just Mike, but any manager. Makes the best choice he can make, and then you have to stand there and you can't do anything about it. It's Seth Maness. It's up to him. The players either execute or they don't. But the manager and anybody that's coached little kids, or kind of you're a parent, you go to a game, you know you're just frustrated because you can't help them. Once they're out on the field, it's just them against the opponent, and you're an interested fan, but you're helpless to really make a difference.
Logan Forsythe is in for Escobar. Mike has said that has been the toughest adjustment for him. Is that the game is out of his control. And you think about being a catcher, involved in all the pitches, pitch selection, where to set up. And, you know, Mike takes great pride in decision making and what he did as a player, and certainly now more than ever as a manager. That pitch in the dirt, 1-2.
Good friend that lives in Atlanta, who was a college catcher teammate of mine, and our coach at the time used to scream at him all the time, David, make the pitcher throw strikes. And he'd just yell at him all the time, make him throw strikes. And he turned up, he looked at him one time and said, how am I supposed to do that? I can't do that.
It's up to him.
He's got to do it.
Glove by Peralta. Forsythe retired. Maness gets the final 2 outs here in the top of the 7th. 2 up. Peralta, Taveras, and Jay. has been the story. He has pitched wonderfully well here tonight. He struck out 9, giving up a total of 5 hits. Longoria, a sac fly moments ago to make it 2-0. Lance Lynn, well over 100 pitches, and Matt Carpenter, 1 for 3 with a double. Brandon Guyer stays in the game for Matt Joyce. At the time, it was an interesting choice for Joe Madden to use Guyer and pinch hit for your third place hitter.
And I'm not sure Mike Matheny could have predicted that Madden would pinch hit for Joyce, who had also been on base all 3 times as an aside, key situation, and he just thought that matchup wasn't right, so he used Guyer. And of course, once Choate is in the game, he has to face at least one hitter, which made the situation turn in Tampa Bay's favor. Choate hits Guyer, who, by the way, didn't try to get out of the way of the ball, and Manus couldn't get the ground ball from Longoria, but at least he got him out. So 2-0, not all bad after the way that inning started.
Shift being used for Peralta. 1 for 2 on the night. Alex Cobb is 9-2 in his career against teams that were in the postseason the year before. So when taking on some of the better teams in the league, he's had success. There's a broken bat. Evan Longoria makes the play.
Cobb has only thrown 100 pitches or more twice this year. Getting close.
Here's Oscar Taveras, who is 1 for 2. Singled on a 1-2 pitch into right center. He chops that to the right side. Fly to center and now grounds out to second base. 1 for 3 on the night. John Jay 0 for 2. You see it, 93 pitches, the average for Cobb this year, and he is at 97. A crowd tonight of 43,564. 43,564. 34th sellout this year. One of the great atmospheres in all of baseball. Cardinals recently had the game experience ranked as one of the top experiences in any sport. Bill DeWitt, the Cardinals president, telling me the other day there's actual waiting list for ushers.
Isn't that great?
Ushers have been here for years and years, many of them. Some of those ushers become family friends. Season ticket holder base is well into the 20,000s.
Ushers can make such a difference at a ballpark. We notice it when we travel. The places that are just so friendly and welcoming. And they're part of making it a good experience for fans. Say the wrong thing at the wrong time and you can kind of ruin somebody's day, but if you help them find their seat, act like you're glad they're here, I think that makes all the difference in the world. And Busch Stadium certainly is a very welcoming ballpark. There are many others like that.
Count is at 3-2 and 2 outs and nobody on. The next two, John Jay. Old foul, and there's Chris Maloney. Spent a number of years in the minor leagues.
Well, he told us on the plane he's going to make a great play before the year is over. I'm not sure that constitutes a great play, but he did look pretty good going to his right there.
That was too routine.
It's a little too routine, exactly.
On the inside corner, strikeout of John Jay. 10 on the night for Alex Cobb. Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio and a Bomberito Sports Update with Pat Paris. Here's Molina against Seth Maness. Jose Molina extended his hitting streak earlier tonight with a double to left, now at 9 games. Molina, Alex Cobb's spot. We'll see a pinch hitter, it looks like, and then Kiermaier.
First full inning of work for Seth Maness, and Dan, we're checking on something in John Jay's at bat.
This scoots away from Cruz, still with time, and he makes the play. The strikeout for Seth Maness.
According to our MLB.tracker, John Jay may have struck out on a 4-2 pitch. We're wondering whether there was the right count or not on John Jay. There's first pitch, strike one. And here's second pitch, that's low, 1-1 to count to John Jay. Third pitch, inside corner, 1-2. Next pitch to John Jay, inside 2-2. Changeup misses low, 3-2. And isn't that ball 4?
Yeah.
Nothing happens. John Jay ends up fouling off a pitch and then striking out, we think, on a 4-2 pitch.
Now we think, we know.
Sure looks like it.
Yeah. That's pulled foul.
I, by the way, grounded out on a 4-2 pitch against Kevin Gross in Philadelphia. Same situation. And I actually ran down to first base on ball 4, and everybody said, no, that's 3. And I said, no, it's 4. And no one agreed with me, which is not unusual.
Well, of interest is that no one has said a word to the home plate umpire. John Jay showed no reaction, as if the count was wrong. I don't think we saw any conversation that lingered about the count.
There are 40,000 plus people here that didn't say anything about it. all the pitches seemed to be clear balls that were out of the zone. Unless he made a bad call on one or called one a non-pitch, and the players on the field knew about it. That'll be an interesting one to recreate after the game.
Does sometimes happen. You know, you don't see the reaction, the right hand go up. What we needed was Enrico Palazzo.
Right.
Maybe next time he can moonwalk. Ground ball that's hit to short.
You love that scene, don't you?
It's one of my favorites.
Good inning.
Good work by Seth Maness. He's gotten the last 5 outs. About the John Jay at bat, his reaction, not quite John Jay's reaction when he found out he was hot. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light Lime, the perfect beer for whatever happens, and by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, that is embarrassing. Home plate umpire Dan Bellino, if indeed it's wrong.
And we are holding out that it is very possible that either he called a pitch a non-pitch and didn't kind of say it or show it to where we could see for whatever reason, called time late. I mean, maybe one of those pitches didn't count. That's one thing. Or he called one a strike and didn't raise his right arm. I mean, both those things are possibilities down on the field, but it sure does look at least as if it's a possibility that John Jay struck out on a 4-2 pitch.
Chevy called to the pen, Brad Boxberger, and the first pitch is a strike. Daniel Descalso will be the pinch hitter. And that's a strike. So Descalso pinch hitting for Tony Cruz.
Boxberger a couple of strikeouts in game one. In some ways just glad to have Cobb out of this game.
The first man retired here in the 8th. George Kataris. He'll be the pinch hitter and then stay in the game. He's pinch hitting for Manus. And a strike at the knees. If you're wondering, could the Cardinals do something about what happened with John Jay? It's come and gone.
Not now.
Right. On the outside corner, 0-2. He painted that.
What's so odd about it is no reaction from anybody on the field. Not just the Cardinals, but Tampa Bay.
Boxberger has struck out 2. Next time you're looking to pick up great seats to the game, head to StubHub and you can earn 2% back in fan rewards on every purchase, including Cardinals tickets. Plus, with all-in pricing, there are no surprise fees at checkout. StubHub, your ticket to upgrades and more. Now, we did see a reaction from Jay. Did not see a reaction from the pitcher. The catcher. Sometimes you'll see a little hesitation after ball 4. Nobody.
Three other umpires.
Yeah. So 2 outs. And an 0-1 to Carpenter, who hits it high in the air out to right center field. Jennings, Boxberger makes the play. The lefty for St. Louis. And it's our Chevy call to the pen, the 1.86 ERA for Sam, and this will be his 22nd appearance. Outstanding work by Brad Boxberger. No relation to Dewey Oxberger.
What did you just say? His father
trying to lighten this thing up.
Well, yeah, you did it.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Did you see Matt Carpenter's reaction to your line that you just said there?
I'm just trying to give a little history. And there's a line shot out to left. off the bat of Jennings. Alex Cobb with our Nissan drive of the game. This is a 2-out double early on, and his first major league hit. He had come in 0 for 4. His plate appearances this season was 0 for 3 in his career.
Again, part of the game of baseball. It was certainly distressing at the time, but you didn't think that that was going to be necessarily game-changing. But it was. Not sure what I'm going to do with you, Dan.
Here's Ben Zobrist. And that scoots away from Kataris, and Jennings at second base.
It's a changeup in the dirt. And he thought he could get it in the air and ends up trying to scoop it instead of blocking it. Knocks off his face mask, and it's a wild pitch, but certainly a blockable ball.
Zobrist takes it low and in. 3-0. Thought you may appreciate the Stripes reference.
One of my favorite movies. Swallow a lot of aggression.
Along with a lot of pizzas.
Obviously, you've seen it a few times, too.
Here's a 3-1. That misses in, so base hit.
Last few outings for Sam Freeman, I've noticed the fastball command off a little bit. That's really been what's set him apart this year from the past couple of years is just tremendous command. And he's really done a nice job in the bullpen. There's no question about that. He has been really a lifesaver for the Cardinals, filling in for Segrist and becoming a dominant left-hander in that bullpen. Choate more of a situational guy, but you need a guy that can come in and kind of blow people away. And Freeman, for the most part, has done that very, very well.
There's Brandon Guyer, who pinch hit for Matt Joyce with runners at first and third. That was in the 7th. He was hit by a pitch from Randy Choate, and now Kataris out to visit, along with Colton Wong. Pat Neshek getting loose. One ball, one strike. The Cardinals will have Wong, Holiday, and Adams coming up. One pitch. Well, you can see Jennings right now. He's frustrated that he did not take third. He initially started to go and looked like Freeman was going to take a peek at him. He never did.
Saw it too, and I was just thinking the same thing. Freeman better peek at him one more time. Make sure he stops because his momentum was going and he had it in his mind to run and missed an opportunity. Check him again.
1-2.
What happens often on second base, Dan, is pitchers get in the habit of showing you the back of their head once. So you may look at them a long time, and then once you show them the back of your head, 1001, 1002 is usually when the pitcher goes to the plate. So you need to show them the back of your head a couple of times or vary that time. In this case, he tries the inside move, but that's often what they key off of. So he'll look at him. Didn't even look at him at all that time.
And a base hit into left. Jennings can fly. He's on his way home. And it's a 3-run lead for Tampa Bay. A single, a walk, and now an RBI hit for Geyer. And Tampa Bay has a 3-run lead.
We mentioned that, Dan, Tampa Bay is a tough team to play right now. Guy coming off the bench, he's been productive in both of his at-bats. Extends the lead here in the 9th inning, and this is a team that's just feeling it, especially on the road, trying to win their 8th straight road game.
Rick, do you remember the time that we were in Tampa earlier this year? And here's Evan Longoria. They could not score a run.
That was a bad team we saw.
Oh,
even their good players, like Longoria, were so off.
They had set the franchise record for most consecutive scoreless innings, and that was against St. Louis, a part of that streak. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball and a strike, and it's 1-2. Trailing after 8 this year, the Cardinals are 0-37. Can they change that tonight? 2 balls, 2 strikes, nobody out, 2 on. And Longoria strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. Rays have struck out 10 times. There's James Loney. Cardinals have struck out 11. Check that, 12.
I don't really think of Sam Freeman as particularly better against lefties than righties, and the numbers may say differently, but with the kind of stuff he has, Dan, with a changeup being his best pitch, seems like he would be equal against lefties and righties. Doesn't have the real nasty breaking pitch, but has certainly enough gas at 95 down and in.
But you're right. His command has been lately just a little off.
Not terribly, but you know, the changeup is a pitch that I think left-handers need to throw to left-handed batters. That's another one of those conventional wisdom things that I don't agree with. And the thought is that if you throw a changeup lefty on lefty, the ball's going to end up down and into a left-hander, which is where they like the ball. So the point is, don't ever throw a lefty a changeup, but if that's a good pitch for you, you've got to find a way to use it. The slider that we saw there from Freeman is really his 3rd best pitch. Pretty good tilt and break on that one. But I don't think it's refined as much as his changeup is.
Down in the minor leagues, Randall Grichuk with his 18th home run for Memphis tonight. And speaking of a lefty that will do that, you know, Marco Gonzalez will throw back-to-back changeups against a lefty inside and at bat. He's trying to refine some secondary pitches, and I'm sure we'll see him before the year is through.
Certainly saw some good things in him. Eventually he's going to be a difference maker, but appeared to me to not quite be ready yet.
Chopped foul. Line drive, and that's pulled foul. One and two the count on James Loney. Heads up play there by Wong. They'll turn two. Might have been able to catch it. Took it on the short hop, realizing he could get the double play. And Tampa Bay was 67. We told you about the strikeouts they have racked up this year. They've had a team in the last 5 years that finished in the top 5 of all-time teams in strikeouts. And they're trying to finish off the Cardinals in a 2-game sweep here in St. Louis. And Jake McGee, or Chevy called to the pen, a lefty, comes in for Tampa Bay. You know, you were talking about earlier Longoria and David Price and, you know, guys that are cornerstones of your franchise. The Rays have made this really tough on their front office, in my mind right now. You could be 5 out in the wild card, and you're making this kind of push. How do you say this to your fan base, to your players, that all of a sudden we're going to gut it?
Well, I think the Rays have a fallback position anyway because they don't have to make that decision on David Price right now. I mean, yes, if you want to do it before the trading deadline, that's one option, but they can still wait till the end of the season and do it then. I mean, there's nothing to stop them from doing that. When you see this race tightening up a bit, and that's just the race for the league leaders, but when you throw the wild card, second wild card into that, it's becoming much more of a possibility for the Rays. So I agree with you 100%. And this guy, by the way, is having an outstanding season. We saw him in Tampa, and he has one nasty, hard-throwing left-hand.
You bet. He was hitting 97, 98 in the game that we saw. 95 on that pitch to Colt Long. Holiday on deck, and then Adams. Long has struck out twice. He has sacrificed.
There was serious talk about McGee being an all-star when we were in Tampa. He was absolutely dominating. You mentioned yesterday, Dan, that they were having trouble with a closer position. Grant Balfour lost his job, and is the guy when they got him from Oakland that was supposed to be their ninth inning guy. But this guy's just keeps getting better and better.
Mentioned that Peralta dealing with an illness right now, so he's been put on the DL. And a strikeout of Colt Wong. Alex Cobb is tonight's Budweiser Player of the Game. Right-hander that strikes out 10. 7 innings of work, 5 hits. And you look at, for Alex Cobb, what was the key point in this game? You go back to the 6th inning. Runner at third, only 1 out. And a 1-run lead, and Holiday at the plate. And it was a ground ball hit to Longoria. Then he went home. Carpenter was tagged out. That's been their best chance tonight.
Yeah, Dan, what we said in the key to the game was that the Cardinals were going to have to take advantage of every opportunities because they might not get many. Tampa pitches well, they defend well. The Cardinals pitch well and defend well, and that was certainly a missed opportunity. Really not many other opportunities besides that. Cobb was that good.
Strikeout of Holiday. Jake McGee, a 1.43 ERA. Taken low by Adams. I think one of the stories certainly after the game is going to be the John Jay at bat. And this day and age, technology, and I mean, I've heard of it. Obviously, you went through it. I've never seen it at this level. And again, if you're just joining us, John Jay, from our vantage point, what we believe was ball 4, 2 strikes on him, was still in the batter's box, and then eventually made an out. He should have walked.
I'm not sure that's an outcome difference maker in this game, but certainly a story. It's certainly an oddity when you consider how many people are counting and paying attention here at the ballpark on so many levels. So we'll wait and see, and maybe there's something that information down on the field that's different.
That very well could be the case.
I think the other story is the Cardinals just not making enough contact today. 14 strikeouts. Pitching has been very, very good for Tampa Bay. And I still say Lance Lynn was outstanding himself. When you pitch the way he pitched today, you should win most of the time.
Reports are that the Tigers get Joaquin Soria. Try to add depth to their bullpen. We'll have more on the post-game show. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Adams. And the game is done, and the series is done with a strikeout. The Rays pour out to the field. They sweep the Cardinals in 2 games here at Busch Stadium.
7 straight victories now for the Rays. They've won 8 straight road games, and their pitching was just too much for the Cardinals. Joe Madden got tossed yesterday, but he was here for the final out today. And this Rays team is red hot. Cardinals may have just been playing them at the wrong time.
So it's on to the post-game show of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live.